everyone could please silence their phones and stand for the prayer and pledge. God our, excuse me. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all of our decisions. Bless us to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As you can see, Mr. Graver had a conflict tonight, so I am filling in for him. And as always, I ask for your grace and my ability to conduct this meeting. So, now we are at the roll call. Mr. Hedger, could you please take the roll call?
Ms. Orb,
Here?
Ms. Dukestein,
Present.
Mr. Wald, Ms. Alexander,
Here.
Mr. Davis,
Here.
Ms. Underwood.
Here.
I did hear from Mr. Graver that Ms. Dewald and also Mr. Dieters had reported that they will not be able to attend tonight's meeting.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we excuse Ms. Dewald from this evening's meeting.
Madam President,
Ms. Alexander?
I second that.
Thank you. I have a motion from Ms. Underwood and a second from Ms. Alexander to excuse Ms. Dewald from tonight's meeting. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion pass. 5-0.
Thank you. You have the agenda before you.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Madam President,
Ms. Alexander?
I second that.
I have a motion from Ms. Underwood and a second from Ms. Alexander to accept tonight's agenda as presented. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion pass. 5-0.
Thank you. We now have the minutes from the May the 6th meeting and the May the 20th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we accept the minutes from Monday, May 6th and Monday, May 20th.
Madam President,
Ms. Alexander?
I second that.
I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Underwood and a second from Ms. Alexander to accept the meeting minutes from 5/6 and 5/20/2024. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Mr. Hedger, do we have any communication this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. I did want to just give notification to council that I did update the council rules based off of the amendments that were made on May 6th. As well, with those changes came changes to the council calendar, which I also made updates to. I believe that will need a motion from council to adopt the calendar.
Need a motion?
Okay. Motion to,
A motion to accept the calendar,
okay.
the amended calendar.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept the calendar as presented.
Madam Chair. I'm sorry, Madam President, Chair.
Ms. Dukestein?
I'd like to second that.
I have a motion for Mr. Davis and a second from Ms. Dukestein to accept the amended council calendar for 2024. Mr. Hedger, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Orb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
As a point of order, Mr. Hedger, could you make sure that those changes get to Ms. Clear so she can update all of the dates on
Yeah.
the calendar? I know I looked at it today and they had not been updated yet, so I want to make sure that those get out there. Thank you. Next, we have council committees. First up is City Community Development and Recreation.
We have not met. We are due to meet on the 10th at 7 p.m.
Actually, that's going to go for all of us, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but different times.
It's just going to
Madam President.
streamline that somehow.
Madam President, I was going to say, we probably don't need to streamline that until we start meeting twice a month again in the fall, or when we come out of summer session, because we will be reporting at that first meeting of every month following July.
Committee meetings already did get streamlined.
No, I mean the agenda.
Right. All right. Budget and Finance.
I'm sorry, we have not met, and we will not meet again until June 10th at 7:30.
Rules and Public Policy.
Thank you, Madam President. We haven't met yet this month. We will meet again on June 10th at 6 p.m.
Public Safety.
We have yet to meet. Our next meeting will be June 10th at 6:30 p.m.
Do we have any ad hoc reports for tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on. Administrative reports. Madam Mayor, do you have a report for us tonight?
I don't have much, thank you. I was gonna call her Madam Chair too. Mr. President, I just want to remind everyone of the Juneteenth parade that's scheduled for June 22nd. I believe I hate to call it do they call it a touch-off? Kickoff is from the high school. So I believe the time is 11 a.m. and they will end up right over here on the side of us by Chase Bank, which is where the Juneteenth activities will begin. So that is on June 22nd. It's after Juneteenth, but celebration goes on and on. So I know information had gone out to council members and other department heads about the newsletter. If you could get your information to Mr. Torrey as soon as possible. I believe we're trying to wrap everything up by the end of this week. So if you can get it in to him by Wednesday or no later than Thursday, so we can have everything finalized by Friday. Additionally, the islands on Hamilton, we have close confirmation that they will begin in about 2 weeks. So the rest of this week, the following week, and the week after that, they'll start the work on the islands on Hamilton. Galbraith, not sure what that date is. I do know our Public Works plans to do some things there. We are having on July, don't have my calendar. I believe it's the first Saturday in July. The 6th will be the grand opening. Well, not grand opening, the groundbreaking dedication for Stapleton Park. I'm not sure what time that is, but that park is being redone, play fixtures and everything. So if you mark your calendars for that, for the first Saturday. I do not have a time, but I'm sure we'll post it up once the time is solidified with Miss Clear. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no city administrator. The
Oh,
law
I'm sorry,
director.
Madam President. We are still taking resumes for the city administrator position. If you know of anyone who would like to apply, they can send those via my email at tnichols@northcollegehill.org. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So there's no city administrator report, no law director report, and I do not see the finance director in the audience, so no finance director report. We will move on to call of members. We'll start with you, Ms. Dukestein.
Just want to say welcome to the audience. That's all I have tonight.
I'm trying to think. I don't have anything either, other than Happy Pride Month. All right. Ms. Alexander?
There will be a pop-up community garden cleanup on the 8th. It will be in back of the Board of Education. I believe that address is 1731 Goodman. It starts at 9 a.m. and they're looking for volunteers to help clean up the community garden. And if you have some time, please show up.
Madam President,
Ms. Dukestein?
Ms. Alexander, can you repeat the address?
1731, is that right, Mayor? Is that the address? 1731 Goodman Avenue at 9 a.m. on June the 8th. That's this coming Saturday. And I'd like to thank Carla Belcher for organizing that. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Okay. Two things. First of all, I'd like to thank former councilperson Bruner and the veterans. They efforted to clean up and decorate the Cary Cemetery in time for Memorial Day. It's a space that had been neglected, and they paid attention and did right by it, and they deserve their flowers and their appreciation for that. And secondly, school's out. All the schools are out for the summer, and just ask for patience with the youth as they assemble in places we may not necessarily like them. They may be a little louder than we like. We got to remember at the end of the day, those youth outside, that's not a menace. That's our children, and let's have some grace and patience with them as they continue to make their own way, since we haven't necessarily created the assembly spaces that they need and deserve. Thank you.
Sunderwood?
Thank you, Madam President. What I was going to say is that school is out for the summertime. I would just ask everybody to just please keep in mind that, you know, our children are running around, they're playing, they're on scooters, they're on bikes, and they may not be attentive to traffic. So please, 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 pretty please, slow down, because, you know, our children are playing in the streets, they're playing in their yards, balls going to the street. We just need to be mindful that they're there. That's all I have.
Thank you. We will now move on to remarks from the audience. Mr. Hedger, has anyone signed in for tonight?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes. First, we have Kathy Curitan.
Good evening, Kathy Curitan, 6718 Devonwood Drive. Tonight, I'm going to ask quite a few questions. And what I am going to do differently in the format is I'm going to call your name, pose the question, then I'm going to have my seat. Respectfully, I will ask on behalf of the citizens of North College Hill, taxpayers, that you will answer our questions so that we can know what's going on in our city. So let me first start with the questions that are addressed to someone specifically. I will start with you, Mr. Davis. There was a conversation that I think you chimed in on, and I really appreciate that, regarding the installation of the trash cans that actually was posed by Mr. Wilson about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And you mentioned that there will be 6 installed trash cans on Galbraith Road. If you can provide an update for that. The next thing is, this is for council at large. If we can have an update on the splash pad. About 4 weeks ago, we had a very incredible, what I would consider incredible and super knowledgeable presentation from a representative from the city of Chicago. And he's waiting on us. So I would like to know, as everyone has emphasized on behalf of council tonight, we care about the kids, we care about the babies. What is the status on the splash pad? This is also another question I have for council. We are short. We're praying for Mary DeWald and her family. We also realize that Mrs. Bruner has resigned. What is the status of filling Mrs. Bruner's seat? That is critical for our council to thrive and move forward. And I will also say the charter doesn't match the rules of council. So I would like to find out from council, A, what is the status of filling Donna Bruner's seat? And are we utilizing a charter or the rules of council to follow the appropriate protocol? Madam Mayor, your hair looks beautiful. It really does. I really want to find out some updates. I mean, we have to go here, right? It's happening. It's been going on. Updates on the investigation for police and fire. Specifically, what is the name of the company investigating? How much has been paid so far? How much is anticipated to be paid? So, like, what's our threshold? And is there a contractual time of the investigation? I believe this is hitting week 7, the beginning of week 7. So what is the estimated time of completion for the police and fire investigations? Madam Mayor, this question is also for you. And if I'm going too fast, if I'm talking too fast, let me know. What is the status? I know that you mentioned the application is out there, the job rec is out there, but what is the status of the hiring of the city manager? Will there be a community panel and forum for citizens to talk to the top 2 or 3 candidates or finalists for that role? And then, as of this point, as of this day, have there been any applicants at all for that role? Madam Mayor, also for you, when will the first mayoral newsletter be distributed? And what method of communication will be utilized to communicate with the citizens? Will it be posted online? Will it be available at the senior center? And again, Madam Mayor, this question is for you. Our law director has been missing the last 3 of the 5 meetings. And we have not had a law report at all in 5 council meetings equals 10 weeks. No updates on anything at all concerning the city. And from what I understand, he is a hired, not appointed, not elected. He is a hired representative of our city. I understand life happens. I understand he has another job, but we have not had a law report in 10 weeks. How can we get those reports? And how do we also get a finance report from Mrs. Anderson in her absence as well? Lastly, council, thank you for your patience. Administration, thank you for your patience. What is the update on the city center? We talked about that about 4 weeks ago, maybe 5. We had a conversation about a gentleman who you all mentioned was going to clean up the asbestos that's in the city center. Our seniors and our veterans have now moved to another location, not occupied by the city, with no updates on the senior center. So I would appreciate if we can get these questions that have already been posed at least a month ago answered tonight. Thank y'all.
Madam Chair.
Madam
I mean,
President.
sorry.
So, if you don't mind, I think I took notes, and I'm going to try to do them in the order that you asked, if that's all right. Okay. Ms. Dukestein, I'm going to start with Mr. Davis, if that's all right. Okay. Mr. Davis, do you have an update on the 6 trash cans on Galbraith?
Yeah. Now, so it wasn't, they weren't all supposed to be on Galbraith. I've been in contact with Mr. Huffman, the public works director, and so it appears the most recently I owed him a call from last Friday, and that's on me. I did not call him back. I'll take care of that in the morning. I'll update y'all via email, and I'll update you personally. Because yes, we've been in contact about that, but it appears the most recent call that's on me to make. I'll make that in the morning.
Mr. Davis, as a follow-up, have any of the garbage cans been installed, or just not the whole 6?
The last time we talked, he was discussing locations. So let me make sure. I'd rather say nothing than to say something wrong.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next on the list is the update on the splash pad. Ms. Alexander, can you take that one?
Well, what I'll have to do, I'll have to check with Ms. Clear. We did meet, but we did not talk about the splash pad. We talked about various other items, such as the newsletter, but I'll let the mayor take care of the newsletter, even though, me and Ms. Clear, we met and we talked about that. But I will get back with Ms. Clear to see if she has any updates from the gentleman who gave the great demonstration.
Madam President.
Ms. 16.
If you don't mind, there are a few things on the list. It's the splash pad, the finance report, and the city center. Those 3 fall for me. So if you don't mind, I'll take those. So the splash pad, I think we are misunderstood, and Mayor may be able to correct me on this. He's not necessarily waiting on us. I thought he was giving us, he was putting together a proposal of what our splash pad would look like. And I do not believe that they have come back. That partially fits for the finance portion underneath my committee, and I have not seen any further communication from him. Mayor can help me out on that. If that's what I understood, our takeaways were the day that the gentleman came and spoke, is that he was going to put a package together and something that would fit our financial desires.
Madam President, he was also going to locate additional dollars to bring our costs down. From what I understand, I hate for you to quote me, but I believe it was $40,000 that he's already found to alleviate some of that. There is, I won't call it another issue, but now what we're looking at is the bidding process. As we know, the bidding process came back very, very high, to almost a tune of $1 million. $40,000, in my opinion, does nothing to $1 million. I mean, it does something, but we need to find out where the other funds will come from, and then who we can bid with. We had some conversations with the law director as far as, can we do state bidding? We can. But then we also have our contractors, JMA, who goes out and gets bids for us. So we're just trying to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row before we proceed, and we need to make sure we use the right dollars for the actual project.
Madam President.
I just want to add one more thing, though. I believe there was, and that's what I was just asking Ms. Alexander about, I think there was another point about the CDBG funds that Ms. Clear wanted to move the CDBG funds from,
It's a
my
bidding.
memory's
So we
foggy.
had the nature grant, or was it the natural grant? Is it nature or natural grant? Where she was saying that, and I'll get clarification from Ms. Clear, that we were trying to separate those because one, really, with the state bidding, one of them would be a greater benefit to us if we separated that. And so she was putting in an application in order to get that process started. And so there's some things behind the scene that have to be done, but I'll get more clarification from Ms. Clear on that.
And I believe that's part of the public hearing that has to be,
Right.
that we
We
have
have to have a public hearing.
in order to adjust those funds. Sorry, Ms. Dukestein.
Do you want me to go ahead and do the financial report in the city center, or you want to just go down the list?
I'd rather stay, otherwise I don't want to miss any of her points.
That's fine.
What is the status on the charter versus the rules of council regarding replacing Ms. Bruner? And I apologize, I wasn't aware there was a conflict between the two, but I will tell you that the charter will overrule rules of council every day of the week.
If I can pick it back up.
The question specifically was, is there an update on filling Donna Bruner's seat? And per the charter, it cannot happen 5 days until after she has resigned, which would have been May 25th, but not 45 days thereafter. So I'm asking, has there been any movement at all in filling her seat? Specifically, the charter and the rules of council do not match. Anyone, anytime can look into what is required in order to fill a vacancy when someone resigns. And the charter and the rules of council do not match. And so I'm asking, what are you following? And then has there been discussion on filling her seat?
Okay, so as far as I know, we have to, like I said, we have to follow the charter. So if the rules of council conflict, the charter wins every time. So what you said is she resigned on the 20th. No one could meet until the 25th. And then we have up 45 days from the 25th to fill that position. To the best of my knowledge, I personally am not aware of anyone who wants to fill that position. So I don't know about any of my co-counsel up here, but so to my knowledge, no one's talked about it.
We haven't had a meeting.
Nope.
Madam President,
Ms. Underwood.
somebody has expressed interest to me. However, any discussion about this has to be in a public. We can't meet outside of this forum right here. So we haven't discussed it because we have to discuss it today. And as a matter of fact, I was going to bring it up in new business because I am aware that our deadline is July 5th. So.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Next, we have the mayor. Updates from the company in investigating how much has been spent so far, what is the dollar limit, and is there a estimated completion date?
We do not have an estimated completion date just because of, I will use the word, the severity of the case. And there are so many moving parts in it. And we have not spent any dollars on that as of yet. So it's typically not done paid until it's done. I do not have a dollar amount on what it's going to be because of the timeline. I do know that they are still investigating. I think it was a part 2 to that. We have been asked by the investigator as well not to give the name of the one who's doing it. So I will honor the wishes of the company who's doing it because of, they start getting a whole lot of emails, public records requests for things that can't be discussed. So I just choose to honor their wishes.
Madam Mayor, in all honesty, and I do understand when someone wants to remain private and do an investigation for our city, but it is public record. As much as we put every single person, Lieutenant Petroselli, Chief Schran, and Chief Fails, we didn't hide anything.
So-
even though their family asked, we never ever hid anything. In fact, we opened it all the way up.
Let me ask you this: what part of the investigation do you feel is public record?
Any portion, the
Not-
person.
Not as of yet, it's not. I will have to disagree with you
Okay.
there, just because when you start bleeding out and putting out information, that could hinder the investigation. Then you have so many different parts in it. And he's not here, but
Okay.
per the law director as
He's an
well,
attorney.
who asked us not.
Sure. So I would just ask if you don't feel comfortable, if the city doesn't feel comfortable releasing the name, then we have to understand the timeline. You can't just tell me you're going to open up an investigation, they're going to send a bill and we pay it and we don't have any. I understand the severity, but this is not the first time a police chief, a lieutenant, or a fire chief has been investigated. This is not the first time. So there has to be
To
a
my
standard.
knowledge, in this city, at
Not, I'm
this,
so,
I understand you're talking somewhere else, but we're talking North Calachio.
I
To my
understand.
knowledge, this is the first time that it's been done this particular way.
So let me just ask this question, and this will really help me understand. The person or people who are hired to investigate, have they ever done a police or fire or lieutenant investigation?
I thought you were going to say investigation. I'm not sure, so I
Okay.
can't answer that question for you.
So we don't know if they're actually,
They're qualified. I
they-
do know they've done these type, but I'm just not sure about
okay.
their clientele.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Madam Mayor, we're still in your court. The status of hiring the city manager, will there be a community forum, and do you have any applicants?
So as of last week is when our applications started to come in. So to date, I have 1, 2, 4. I have 4. The plan is to start those. I wanted to start those interviews this week, if I can start some of those. If not, I plan to do at least 1 or 2 if I can get have several department heads who would like to be on the panel. And so if we can get those schedules together, then we'll start this week and into next week with those.
Do you
There was
want to
another
address
part.
the community forum portion of her question?
I would like, so when we say community forum, let me ask what the purpose is.
Not intended to take up too much of anyone's time this evening, but our city has had, I don't know, and I don't even want to quote. We've had a lot going on in our city, and I think it is important. Look at the crowd that's tonight. Is this normal for a city council meeting last year this time? I would say no. However, I think it is important that the next person who is hired by our city, we get a chance to put a name with a face versus just a body filling a seat. And I appreciate the leadership that our council has in offering their feedback, which I think is normal protocol. However, as we look forward to the future, I think it would be super helpful per your selection, because you are our mayor, to choose whomever you want, 5, 10, maybe set it up for an hour so that we can do a meet and greet of the top 3 candidates for the role.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, you're talking about a meet and greet. So when I hear you talk, I hear you say, so not just a body, somebody we can meet. So which is confusing me a little bit, because to me there's a difference. There's a difference between you meet who's selected and, or you say the top 3 and we meet those people. So in my head I have to say, and I don't mean any disrespect, but when I hear that, I'm saying I want to make sure or understand if you're saying we weigh in on the top 3 and tell you which one we like in the same manner, because it's the mayor appoints with councils.
And that's probably been our problem, that the mayor solely appoints with council with no citizen no citizen feedback. I am suggesting, and I can only give a suggestion. I don't work for the city. I'm not an elected official in any role, but I am suggesting that this time around, when we hire a city administrator, that you weigh in with community forum. And you may say, you know what? I heard the community, but I'm going to go a different direction. But at least allow us to look at the top 3 candidates that you have selected, and allow us, not just council, but allow the community citizens also to say, hey, let me ask you at least one question. Why, whatever the question might be, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, so that we can put a name with a face before they fill a seat.
So I would say I'm not opposed to that, but I think it would be better if a citizen would like to sit on the panel.
So you're...
Madam
Okay.
President.
So I'm sorry.
I'm just telling her.
Oh.
Madam.
I would think that offering it just to one citizen cannot speak for the entire city of North College Hill residents. I would think that you would open it up. There are many people who are present tonight who will never ever say a word, but they may go home and chew on it and say, oh, Jane Doe, I liked her. Jim Smith, I liked him. Thomas, whatever. So they'll have an opportunity to put a name with a face before they fill the seat. We may agree to disagree on this, and that's fine. You are the strong mayor, but I think it'll be healthy for the city as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President.
Ms. Dukestein.
My question is for you, Ms. Kirton. Just for the sake of clarity, so with the, you said we've been through a lot, and we've only had one administrator underneath our current mayor that didn't work out. However, the previous administrator was per a previous mayor. So are you collectively saying it's been a problem before Mayor Nichols, or are you saying that it's been I'm confused at what we're trying to get to, so we can, and
Sure. I'll gladly answer that for you. North College Hill has had a super high turnover in council and administration. It did not start with Mayor Nichols. It started way before her. If you've been a resident of North College Hill at least a year or 2, maybe 5, you can see that. However, it's too late to point fingers. It's too late to say, oh, I'm taking this leadership role, but I want to point out what Jim Smith did 10 years ago. We can't do that. We'll waste time pointing fingers versus collaboratively working together to fix the problem. I've been in North College Hill for 6 years. I've selected to raise my family here for a number of reasons. However, I know that this is not broken under her leadership and her administration. However, this is her 2nd term as mayor. Since 2018, she's been mayor. I've lived in North College Hill since 2018. And so what we're looking for are the promises that were told to us years ago. And we've had a significant high turnover in council, just like Ms. Bruner leaving, just like others have left. They'll serve a year or 2 and leave. And that causes a breach in the communication. That causes a ball to be dropped. That causes citizens to be negatively impacted, because there might be someone brilliant who comes to council who has phenomenal ideas, and that's great, but there has to be a proper handoff of that information so that we can continue to be effective as Springfield Township, College Hill, Mount Airy, City of Cincinnati. Because we have the capability to do it. We just got to get to work.
All right. Madam Mayor, we're still in your court. When is the first mayoral newsletter and the avenue that it will be distributed?
So from my conversations with Mr. Torrey and Ms. Clear, is, as I stated earlier, everything should be in by the end of this week, because we're hoping to go to print as long as everything is taken care of between next week and the following week. So initially, it will be mailed to homes. It will be on our website. I'm sure that means they'll post it on Facebook. I'm sure they'll put it in whatever business allows us to do so.
Madam Mayor, I have a follow-up for that. So if it's going to be posted in I'm assuming printed and then distributed to the businesses. Who would do that physical function?
There were a couple, to be honest, Ms. Zorb, I cannot remember which one we went with, because initially one didn't format, the other one did, and there were some things that needed to be formatted. So I'm not in that process. That's something that the people doing it would. So,
Right. But what I'm saying is who will physically pick up those printed copies and take them over to AutoZone and put them on AutoZone's counter?
so that's something we can talk to Mr. Torrey about. We haven't gotten to that point.
Okay.
I mean, but
All right. Good enough. Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, you're in the hot seat.
look, we playing. It's okay. It's okay.
It's the next question is about the law director and that he is not present. He's is a hired employee, and there's been no law report in 10 weeks.
So, I don't know how this sounds, but as long as I've been here, I probably have only heard one law report from Mr. Dieters. And I'm not saying whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I just think sometimes because of the information that he has, he can't publicly, because a lot of the things that I discuss with him is private. I can't speak for council because he works for both of us. He is appointed. So it's 50-50, mayor and and council. So I'm not sure if the reports or the conversations that they have with him, he can come and give a report on. But most of the ones that I talk to him about, they're very private. So they cannot, I can talk to him to see what type of report, if any, he can. I don't know if council would like to weigh in on that as well. Because as I stated, they have a different relationship with him. And I would assume that most of your conversations are the same, except as it pertains to legislation before it's presented.
Madam President,
Ms. Alexander.
I can say my only conversations with him are dealing with legislature. Is it ready? Will you be able to have it ready for council? That's the beginning and the end of our conversations. And that's always via email.
Next is the, and I know Ms. Dukestein wants to talk about the finance report, but the finance director does report to the mayor. Would you like to address the finance report?
Yes. So traditionally what we've done, Ms. Cureton, is we have reported, when you hear us do the Budget and Finance Committee report, that finance report is wrapped up in there at the council meetings. If there's a specific need for the financial manager to come to our meetings when he or she is presenting, or currently now it's a she, then she will come. She's been in the back of the room. This is probably the first time I haven't seen her in a while, and she'll wait until we get pretty far down in our agenda, and then she'll tiptoe out of here just in case there are any questions. She usually goes past remarks from the audience. She is not here today. I have spoken with her. We will meet at the end of this week for July's committee meeting, and we will have a report at the Budget and Finance meeting on July the 10th. And then I will be reporting that yet again on the first, it will miss the first meeting in July. It'll be the first meeting in August. But we are kind of thrown off schedule-wise because there was no report this week, and this is the first week in June. Based on, I already gave that report the last meeting. So if you look at our calendar, since I see you looking, we met, the report was given on May the 20th for the Budget and Finance meeting we had on May the 13th. And if you would like, you can look in these minutes and you should be able to see it. Or you can come to the Budget and Finance meeting and get it there as well. So that's traditionally how we've done it. Are you hoping for something different?
Ms. Dukestein, I've been at every Budget and Finance meeting since March, and I think what we're looking for is to make sure our books are balanced, right? There has been much question on how the funds have been allocated, and I appreciate your updates. However, we're looking at it from, I'm going to use the word global update, from what actually Ms. Anderson, who is a hired representative of North College Hill. So what you do on behalf of council is highly appreciated. You do an excellent job, but we're looking at it from a big picture perspective on what Ms. Anderson has identified. For example, updating the software. She's identified that the software that North College Hill uses for Paycor systems is completely outdated. And so she's talked about that. What is that total cost for North College Hill to incur for that software update? And is it just because that's what she prefers, or is it because what we have works perfectly fine? Secondly, I think that it's the beginning of June when the, and you can correct me because I'm not 100% sure, the state audit is due. So what is the update on that? Is it due June 1st? I don't want to take over, but these are questions that I've been asking for a long time. And so that state audit, are we going to pass it this year? And I know that in the years past, we have not passed it, whether it was because of a receipt, whether it was because a penny was off. Now that we have the proper channels in place, are we going to pass our audit this year?
So I think you're talking about the Hinkle report, which is, that deadline is actually already passed. We got an extension, and we will have that in the last that I spoke with her in May. She was wrapping it up by the end of May. We have not had an opportunity to meet for June. In terms of the audit, I think it says like there were findings, and our law director talked about this last time, and then there are kind of managerial reports. I think that's the quote language. So when they come back and they find things, they're giving us an opportunity to say, hey, we find this problematic. This is kind of a soft redirection or correction of what you need to do. Actually failing the audit is something completely different. And we have been kind of, hey, you need to redirect this or correct this. We've done that and then passed. Did you want to say something? I saw you
Madam
lean
Chair.
up.
We have not had findings. We've had the reports, the
Yes.
managerial reports.
Yes. And so by the time we have had the ability to correct those managerial reports, they don't turn into findings for us. So they still do post those publicly. And so when the public sees those, they've kind of taken that a bit more harsh than what it actually has been for us. There are actually things that we have been kind of like, hey, we need to fix these, but it's not so harsh to say we've failed the audit as a result of those things. We've actually come up with the receipts.
If you can, I really didn't want to go there this evening, but per the Ohio Auditor's website, May 19th, 2022. So a little over 2 years ago, Auditor Faber declares the city of North College Hill as in unauditable. Failure to bring accounts, records, and reports into an auditable condition within 90 days. So I'm just telling you what I see. And it says that North College Hill was unauditable in May of 2022.
So we actually, that was something that they relinquished. We went back to them and said, hey, you never even gave us an opportunity to fix this. And it was not, that's something that they posted, but it wasn't actually a report. Is that, would you, Mayor, it is false. And they gave us the opportunity to come back and find or to deal with those managerial reports. And then we were found auditable. And I think if you look out there you will see that update. Mayor, can you help me with that? But I know what I'm saying about them finding us inaudible. It was kind of like a cart before the horse. That we have a due process that we get to have as a city, and we did not get that process. We did not get our managerial report, and so then they jumped right to inaudible. And when we called and were able to point that out to them, they rescinded. We were able to come up with those receipts, and we were found auditable by the time we were able to turn all of those things in. So even if that is not a reflection, I promise you, if you call, you will get that information, a confirmation of the information that I'm giving you. Mayor, you want to jump in there and co-sign for me?
I was just gonna say it was all with less than 24 hours from the time.
It was very
Yeah.
short, and
But it was taken care of before an 8-hour workday was complete.
I'm just going to disagree with you. And if the state auditor has inaccurately reported something, I would think our law director would have them retract the entire article, because there's 2 articles, one from May and one from September, and they both coincide. May to September is over 90 days. So I would think, well, maybe, yeah. So I would think if the state of Ohio has inaccurately put a statement out there, our law director would have had them retract that well over 2 years ago.
May I ask, are you looking at the state auditor's website? Okay, I can follow up with that, but I can assure you that we were not found inauditable. Even if that is out there, that is inaccurate. That for sure is inaccurate. So, but what I will do, so I have the budget and finance meeting. Again, I believe it's the 13th. I'm sorry, the 10th. So I should have some follow up to kind of reassess and, get that taken care of. I'm not real sure what those articles are because I haven't seen them. The report that's given to me through the finance director, I kind of take that on straightly from the state. I don't look out there for those other things because I'm getting the information straight from the horse's mouth. But what I will do is look into the articles that you see and follow up. And if there is something that Mr. Dieters needs to call or have taken down on our behalf, I'll also follow up and have an update at the next budget and finance regarding that. And then I think the next thing,
Hang on a minute, 'cause I'd like to chime in for a quick second. It's my recollection that because the state auditor did send all of council an email saying that we were inauditable, and again, it was a minute ago, so all the circumstances aren't perfectly clear, but as I recall, the auditor had again sent the email to the city administrator at the time, and none of the managerial or findings were addressed, and that's why it was like the city did not respond. Like, the auditor gives the city a chance to respond, but the city did not respond, and I believe that's when we went inauditable.
That conflicts with what the mayor said, so I don't want to.
And I'm trying to use my memory. I can try to look at previous emails, but that's the way I recall it happening.
You all get together, but I don't want to say, if the mayor says one thing and you say something different, I don't want to get in the middle. All I'm telling you is what's there, and if it's wrong, our law director should have immediately had it retracted. I will leave that work up to council and administration. And if it's wrong, please.
Sure,
Yeah, thank you.
I agree. Yep.
so my commitment to that is an update by the next budget and finance meeting. And then the next one is me. It's the city.
Hang on, there's still one more thing. So I believe the state should be here for our next audit. I thought it was going to start in June. Is the state coming for our next audit?
I have
anytime
not
soon?
gotten an email or anything from them to say when they would be here as of yet.
Okay.
Typically it begins then.
Yeah.
So the state should be starting our next audit soon. on their calendar, right? Right. Do you have the city center update? Is that what you're working on?
Yes.
Thank
So the last time we talked about that was also at the last budget and finance meeting, and we have three quotes for the building, and we are waiting on our fourth one. They reached out to us early last week and said that they would have something to us by the end of last week or early this week before we can kind of start talking about that. I want to make sure that we have all the quotes and all of the perspectives of the construction companies to know what we need to do in the best way. I like to give information on top of information to make the best decision, and I think that we would be remiss not to have quotes from a gamut of different people. And since they're so close to, they just let us know that they needed a small extension to, like they said, the end of last week or early this week. So I was going to give them until Wednesday. And then we should also be talking about that at the next budget and finance meeting with the collaboration of all those quotes. I'll be sending those out to council members. In fact, if I get it early enough, I'll have it sent out by the end of the week so that you all can look at what they're saying as well. If Mr. Hedger wouldn't mind posting that for us. Don't look at me like that, would you?
Madam President,
Mr. Hedger?
Ms. Dukestein, state that again.
So we're committed now, and I think we're supposed to be following up and talking to you about making sure we post the agendas a little early. And with that, I was committing to say I will send out the quotes for the ones that I've received, so I can send you the agenda and the quotes for our next budget and finance meeting. So hopefully I'll get that done by Thursday, and then that should be up for the public to see, and then we meet on the 10th.
Madam President,
Mr. Hedger?
I'm not aware of posting for committee meetings. It's not something I have done or done in the history in the past. Is that? I don't even know where.
I believe that's something we need to take offline and figure that out.
Okay.
How's that? Yeah. I do have one point of clarification, though. What do the quotes involve? Because Ms. Curitin asked about asbestos. So are the quotes just for asbestos removal? Are they?
They're for asbestos removal. There's for tearing the whole building down. We asked them to give us each stage what it would mean to build it back up, get it to a white space, take this and remove the asbestos to be able to enter back into the building or turn it, flatten it. And then there's also a portion of that we'll get from the insurance company is if we board it, if we have it sit there any amount of time, if we have to board it, then there's costs that are associated with the extra insurance. We are going to dig into all of that. So all of those quotes, expenses, and we will make a good, healthy decision based on what's going to be better for our finances.
Thank you. Ms. Curitin, have all of your questions been answered? I thought I took notes, but I want to clarify.
You have done an excellent job in prioritizing it. Every question has been answered. Thank you. And I hate to put anyone on the spot, but it is what it is. So,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hedger, has anyone else signed in?
Yes, Madam President. We have a William, and apologies, I'm not able to pronounce the last name. It's a little bit, not able to read it.
Sir, please step to the microphone, state your name and your address.
Madam President, name is William Scott. I'm not a resident of College Hill, but I'm the commander of DAV Chapter 115. And we've been gone for a pretty good while. And like the lady reiterated that when the city administrator told us to leave, we went up to American Legion up on Hamilton Avenue. And tomorrow we have our final chapter meeting, and then we go dark until September. And we've been struggling, you know, and we'll be here Wednesday to speak with the Planning Commission president to find out what's our next step, you know. And it's been hard because we've been, you know, I love the city, and I don't live here, but when I got with the DAV chapter, I went from member to commander. And when I became commander, we went this way. And we've like could continuously do stuff for the city of North College Hill. Last year we did the car show, we did the Juneteenth last year, we did cookouts. We want to continue to do that, you know, because, you know, y'all opened your arms to us, and we want to continue to do that for y'all, you know, and hopefully that if we can get back in there, we want to do something. Hopefully it's this year. Hopefully we can do stuff to show our appreciation to y'all, you know, and that's all I want to say. And hopefully, Madam Mayor, that, you know, you can, I don't know, speed the process up so we can, you know, we can get back in there and continue to help y'all out as, you know, as much as we can, you know. We would really definitely appreciate it, you know.
We appreciate you all as
Yeah.
well. I do have a question for you. When you say I'm sorry, Madam President. When you say you go dark, is that because you don't have anywhere
No, we won't have no more meetings after tomorrow.
till
And
September?
we'll start back up in September, you know.
Okay.
But,
They have a
they
summer
was,
session, too.
the American Legion was nice enough to let us use their facility, you know, to have our meetings and stuff like
Okay.
that, you know. So it's just that, you know, it's, you know, you know, when Jennifer sent us that letter, we were sitting in the room and she sent us that letter, boy. It's like, boy, somebody stuck a knife in my heart. You know, but like I said, because we got a grant, at the time we had a grant to have the floor done. And when she said, well, I went back there and talked to her, she said, Will, can you hold off for a couple of months? And I'm like, yeah, we can, you know. And then she came back and hit us with that, and, you know, but we still got the grant money to get the floor done. So, you know, I'm just hoping that, you know, we can get back in there and we can continue to, you know, help North College Hill out, you know, like we was when we first went down there, you know. I mean, there was nothing that they, you know, she would, we even go back to Ron Mosby. He come back there and ask us to do stuff. We're like, yeah, we do it, no problem, you know. And every year we would have a cookout. You know, we cook hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff like that, you know. So to help, you know, we'd have them, you know, everybody come, police and fire, y'all would come down there and, you know, we would, you know, feed them and stuff, and they would, you know, thank us and stuff like that, you know. But it's just that we don't want to leave. You know, we definitely don't want to leave, you know, because like I say, y'all been really good to us, you know, and we want to continue to do good for y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commander Scott, first of all, thank you so much for your sacrifice to our country. Second of all, does anyone have your contact information? And the reason why I'm asking is because I know that they have started planning for the car show, and the car show is Labor Day weekend, and you might still be dark until that time. So first of all, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have any interest in helping with the car show this year? And if you do, could someone please get your contact information, because you will be, I'm using your term, in your dark stage while we're still planning that.
Yeah, if we have you know, if we get, all we do is, if we get the manpower, we can do it, because we still got all our grills and stuff down there, so, yeah, you know, we get the manpower, sure, we don't have a problem.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Ms. Dickstein?
Commander Scott, if you don't mind, can you tell me, I know that you all receive or have like hierarchy from the actual DAV headquarters. Is there anything that, because you don't actually have a building, that puts you on a timeline to have to find another spot, or what's your major pressing deadline for that?
Well, tomorrow's our last chapter meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then we won't go back up to the American Legion until September.
Okay.
Because we go dark for 2.5 months.
But that doesn't kind of dismantle your chapter. Okay.
No.
The other question that I have is, or I guess just information that I would like to give. One of the things that I know for sure, having collected all of the quotes, at a bare minimum, to it, let's just say council, and I'm not being presumptuous with any of council members, but at a bare minimum to get, if we were to get that building back up and running, at a bare minimum, it would be 6 to 8 weeks to get it back functional. And that's predicated upon if we have the money. So across the board, the quotes that we did get, that's kind of like a general timeline that we would be looking at if we were to go in that direction. So that's, that I just want to make sure you have that information. So we probably would be much closer. I'd be happy to reach out during the summer months if there's a decision made that we could give you to let you know where we stand.
Okay.
If you want to leave your contact with me. Or leave it with any one of these guys and just let me know and I can pick it up from them.
I'm good, because like what I forgot to say, that if it's anything that, that we can do to help, I mean, if we can, if anything, as far as, trying to clean the place up, if y'all want, if we can,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, we can do that too.
Okay.
I mean, not only just the DAV pay it, they back there. The National Historic Society, they there. And they, we don't want to leave. I mean, because we pretty much like family,
We don't want you to leave either.
Yes.
I mean, anytime when the mayor or somebody will call and say, hey, can y'all do this? Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's what we for.
And you are valued. Thank you. That's why I was asking your deadlines. I know you report to, you're a chapter, but you report up and that kind of funnels down. And so I wanted to make sure that if you had any hard deadlines as well, that we could make sure that we're communicative and keeping in mind as we make a decision. And that helps us to kind of be on top of the timeline that everyone has. We are not ignoring it. We're just trying to make sure that we make the best decision financially and for that space. And as council members, when we get the information, we are advantageous about pursuing that. So just want to make sure that you are assured in that.
Absolutely.
Madam President.
You said that.
To Commander Scott, I am going to open my house for your house. So the first meeting that you have in September, I want you to have it at our police station. Come into our courtroom, and you can have your first meeting there. So it's in the city. I will give you my business card so you can contact me, and we'll make that happen for you.
Amen.
Mr. Hedger? Is anyone else signed in?
Yes, Madam President. We have Earl Brown.
Good evening. My name's Earl Brown, DAV Chapter 115. My question is, what is the feasibility of us getting back in that room? Mold is a very easy thing to clean. You get it in your bathroom or whatever, your showers. You can go to just about any hardware store, buy bleach, vinegar to clean it, okay? We only have approximately 800 square feet. Kay's room is just about the same as ours, so we're looking at Historical Society in addition to hers and ours, okay? If we can get back in there and do our own cleaning, because it only grows on walls, okay? It doesn't grow on furniture and all that. So we could clean our own room and help her and the Historical Society if they need our help. If we can get back in to do it.
Mr. Brown, if I could address this, I believe the major catalyst for shutting down that building was it was discovered that asbestos was airborne, and that's a deal breaker at that point. And
Okay.
we can't risk your health in allowing you to be in there when there's airborne
Okay,
asbestos.
I understand that. All right, well, thank you.
Yes. Mr. Hedger, has anyone else signed in?
No, Madam President.
All right. We are now at legislation. Mr. Hedger, could you please?
First reading ordinance number 3, 2024, an ordinance to establish a police department special revenue fund for the receipt and deposit of revenues from the police department, city of North College Hill, tow and impound lot.
Next up, we have further remarks from the audience as it pertains to the legislation. I see no one. We'll move on to old business. How about new business?
Madam President,
Madam President, I'm after her.
Ms. Alexander.
I'm not sure because this is my first time doing this, and maybe Mr. Hedger can assist me. As far as proposing a public hearing, do I need to make a motion for that? Or Madam Mayor, I have 2 of them that I need to make a motion for. Is that, or you're shaking your head, yes? Okay. I would like to make a motion for a public hearing to discuss the options for the CDBG funding, which is the program that has the money set aside, and we may need to, Ms. Clear is going to present options that the public and as well as council can weigh in for those funds, and we have to have a public hearing before we can decide what we choose that for.
Madam
What's the-
President, I'm sorry.
What's the date that you'd like to have that public hearing? Date and time?
Okay, well, I know we're into the summer months, and I don't want to be the bad person. Let's see.
What is it for? To discuss CBDG dollars.
Madam
Well,
President,
go ahead.
if I could make a suggestion.
Yes, make a suggestion.
You could use your meeting time for a public hearing, your next meeting time.
No, it needs to be before.
I got a lot of stuff on the agenda for that.
So let me be clear. This is not necessarily council. This is for the public.
Public.
So it doesn't have to be during one of our times. This is for the public to come in and say, we don't want you to spend our money like that,
Her.
Okay.
to put it bluntly.
So, Madam President, I don't know if you want to do it 5:30, the week or the day of your meeting, or another day. It doesn't have to be on a Monday. You can pick another day as long as you stay within that 30-day confinement.
Okay. I have a lot of things on my agenda for next Monday, so I didn't want to use that for my
I wouldn't.
public hearing.
No, I was saying not during your meeting.
Okay.
I know your meeting started, what, 6:37?
Yeah, my
If you
meeting's
wanted
at
to hold
7.
it at 5:30, I don't know
You're
if that's
saying prior
prior
to?
to. Or if you want to go to another day.
I think I would rather do it all in one day, all in one day, so that people can have their summer days. How about the 10th at 5:30?
Ms. Alexander, I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on your toes.
That's all right.
Madam Mayor, do you know, there's some type of stipulation about how far in advance that notice has
That's why I
to
said
be
as
out
long
there?
as it's within her 30-day window. I don't know what the deadline is for Ms. Clear.
No, I'm talking about when it gets posted in the paper.
Yeah.
It still has to be within that window, that 30-day.
So does it have, I'm sorry, Madam President.
Ms. Alexander.
So are
Oh,
you saying that
I
it
get
has
what
to
you're
be in the
saying now.
paper for so many days prior
Yeah.
to the meeting?
That's where I'm going,
Yeah.
yes.
I was thinking the
You're
tail
thinking
end.
the back end, I'm
Yeah.
on the front end.
You're on the front end.
Okay, so today is the 3rd, so
I don't know what that timeline is.
Ms. Underwood, would you know?
I was just looking to see if I could find the answer for you.
And I do have another question. Since I have 2 hearings, would that have to be 2 separate days?
They could be back to back, but they would have to be posted separately. Like, there would have to be, like, I believe we have to post it in the newspaper. So there would have to be one newspaper posting
For each one of
for the
them?
CDBG grant, and then one
For the zone change?
Yes. Yep. So there has to be 2 separate
Tell me he got
public
out of
hearing
country.
notices.
He said he got out of the country. That's what he said.
And I'm sorry for holding up the meeting.
See,
I'm not finding it in the charter, but I just need to look at it more carefully because I
don't
know
think
that
there's
I've read
anything
it
in the
there.
charter. There's nothing in the charter.
There's nothing in the charter.
I believe it's an ORC kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I can find that easy. Some public.
Any luck? Rule
I'm
4901.
thinking it's, well, I don't know why I'm getting 7.
You said 4901.
I hate this laptop. Open book.
Public meetings.
Variance, say for example. Yeah, 2 weeks.
That has to be 2 weeks?
By publication once per week for 2 weeks. So if we're gonna, we off. So that means you'll have to have it the following week. So the 10th is next week. You would have to come in on the 17th. So it's Rule 4901. What is it? I don't have my glasses.
4901 1 through 15
1 through 15.
04 -04.
under Ohio laws.
It says so it has to be in the paper for 2 weeks, is that what you're saying?
So I guess they can send it out tomorrow. So that would be the first day if they send it early enough, I assume.
Okay, and so it would have to be the 18th,
I'm gonna have
but if they send it out tomorrow,
They send it out tomorrow.
You said me to do it?
Annalisa or Ben.
If the city sends it tomorrow, they're not gonna, it won't be in the newspaper the same day.
It'll be the
So
next day.
they won't even post it till probably,
It needs to be in
Wednesday
there
or Thursday.
Once per week for 2 weeks.
yeah.
It needs to be in there once per week for 2
So
weeks.
you
2
might want to be
weeks.
safe and say like
That's what I said.
Twice.
So it'll be
Yeah.
the end of the week, like the
I would say like
19th,
the
Friday the
24th.
20, yeah. Well,
unless,
you could make it on a Monday and Monday the 24th.
Okay.
And that would be.
let's
that
just keep
should
it
give you
simple
enough.
and that leeway.
All right. What time are you looking for?
Let's do 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Mm-mm.
All
I
right.
don't have to.
6 for the
They don't wanna come out,
CDBG
probably.
and like 7 for the zone.
I don't think
She's
it'll
gonna,
be take
she's
that
gonna do
long.
2 separate motions.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay,
it's gonna take
so
that
they
long.
both be- Okay, but y'all both of those can be handled in the same meeting. Okay.
That,
On the
so
same
remember the
meeting.
22nd.
They're gonna close
She has
one.
to open
close
one
one,
meeting,
okay.
close it, open the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Would you like to start over?
I would like to make a motion for a public hearing in regards to the
Nope, CD.
See,
C
Development block grant.
yes, Community Development Block Grant
Yes.
to go over the options on how to use those funds with the public. That will be on June 24th at 6 p.m. here at the Senior Center.
Madam President,
What day?
Ms. Dukestein?
I'd like to second that.
Mr. Hedger, we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Alexander and a second from Ms. Dukestein to hold a public hearing on June 24th at 6 p.m. to discuss the CBDG funding with regards to the splash pad. Could you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Sorb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Just as a follow-up, so you will get with Ben, Mr. Torrey, tomorrow to make sure that he gets that to the newspaper to get that
He's the
posted,
one that
right?
would get it to the newspaper?
I'm assuming,
Yes.
Okay, all right,
because if that doesn't, then you can't hear it.
Okay.
You can't have the hearing.
okay.
Would you like to make your second motion?
Yes, I would like to make a second motion for another hearing regarding the zone change in the code for the 1,500 square feet residential issue. And I would like to have that the same day, the June 24th, following the first hearing. So I'm going to say 6:30.
6:15.
Okay, 6:15.
Think anybody's going to show up?
Madam President,
Can we be a little
Ms.
more
Dukestein?
specific?
remind me, Miss Alexander, is that for what the is that's for the new housing or something?
Yes.
Okay.
The
To
timing
be clear, that's the planning commission's recommendation to change our minimum square foot of a home to 1,500 square foot.
Correct.
Okay. Madam President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I'd like to second that.
Mr. Hedger, I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Alexander and a second from Ms. Dukestein to hold a public hearing on June the 24th at 6:15 p.m. in this room. I forgot to say that the
Yes.
first time. In this room, regarding a zoning code change to modify our square footage restrictions to a minimum of 1,500 square foot. Could you please call the roll?
Ms. Sorb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 5-0.
Is it square feet? I said square foot. Is it square feet? Did I say that wrong? Or footage? I say footage. All right. Do you have anything else you'd like to address, Ms. Alexander?
That will be all for the evening.
All right. Ms. Underwood, I believe you're next on the docket.
Like how you called it, the docket.
Sorry.
So,
Think you're feeling home.
Ms. Curitan did bring up something that I had been reviewing the charter about, because the charter rules when there's a conflict between the charter and council rules. And there's two sections. There's section 3.07, and then there's also sections 13.08 and kind of the surrounding sections. But basically the gist, or my understanding is that when there's no committee to appoint the replacement for a council member who resigns, then council has to replace that member. But it has to be between the 5 days and the 45 days. By my calculation, that's before July 5th. I know that we're in summer session. I know that we have a meeting the first week of July. We haven't discussed it at all. I do know that there's one person at least who is interested. So there's a couple of things I would say. If there's anyone else who is interested, please reach out to one of us to let us know. But as for me today, I am going to nominate or suggest Victor Wilson, because I know that he wants to be on council. He is interested.
I would like to add that I did talk to our law director after the last meeting, because I was perplexed about how to handle the situation with the open meetings versus all of that rigmarole. And he suggested that we could hold an executive session and interview candidates that way if we wanted to do that, because then we are still abiding by the open meetings law. And because in order to not put someone, if there were multiple individuals that wanted to fill that seat, then it wouldn't necessarily put them out in the public. Could provide little confidentiality for the people that were applying.
So my question, Madam President, of course, my question for the law director is he going to back that up? Like, if somebody comes after us because we went into executive session for an improper purpose, is he going to back us up on that? Because I don't know that I agree with that.
Madam President,
16.
are you making a motion for Mr. Wilson, or no?
I don't know yet. We're talking.
Okay.
We're talking. I mean, we're talking. We're talking. We have a deadline. We know that deadline is July 5th. We also know that it's summertime. We're all going on vacations and other things. So I would like some input from, and I'm hearing crickets. I'm not seeing anybody else raise their hands like, hey, I want to do it.
Your deadline is not July 5th.
It's,
According to my records, it's July 4th, which is a holiday. And then the meeting on July 3rd. So
okay, that's why I kind of went to July 5th because we can't count the holiday.
but you have to do it before, you can't do it after.
Madam President,
Ms. 16.
looks like but based on the calendar, our meeting's on the 1st.
Right.
It is.
So we would have time at that first meeting. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying when our next meeting is. Yes.
We did, but I don't know that we posted it anywhere. Did we post it anywhere on?
I'm sorry.
Victor Wilson,
so-
69.
So hold on. This is not the time for public participation, to be quite honest. This is a time for council to debate this.
We'll debate away. I'm listening.
Sorry.
Okay, so I don't know if this is appropriate for executive session, but I would be interested in hearing from Mr. Dieters to explain kind of how he came up with that. But, I mean, the charter does not mention an executive session. So,
Okay. And
Madam President.
Madam Chair,
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I've already spoken on it. Go ahead.
so
They're
if
city employees.
okay, Madam President.
Mr. Davis.
Okay. If need be, would we be able to do like a committee of the whole meeting, either prior to or after the committee meetings, in order to propose and get this done?
Yes. Theoretically, we could.
Madam President, I have a question for Mr. Davis.
I do. I'm sorry.
You're suggesting extra meetings during summer session?
Madam President, what's the legislative exception of tucking your chain in? Because I think I want to do that right
So
now.
can I just chime in for a real quick second? So I'm looking at my notes for valid reasons to have executive session. To consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. So to me, that would qualify for executive session. Yep.
But she should have had.
Well, I told Mr. Wilson no, so I'm sorry.
Madam President.
Yes. Ms. Dixteen.
So I'm trying to be respectful of what council rules say, and it says, a council person cannot speak on something more than twice. So I'll make this my last comment. I am perfectly fine with going forward. If anyone else, the discussion should be, are we okay going forward, or do you want to go back to a executive session? If you guys are comfortable going forward, then someone needs to make a motion and we can vote on it tonight. If you guys want to go to executive session, then that should be the conversation. And I'm only saying that in a very frank way so that the conversation can go in the right direction no matter what is chosen, because I can't speak anymore, or I'm choosing not to speak anymore to abide the rules of council.
So we're making a motion to appoint Mr. Wilson.
I think we're talking, we're discussing.
Would you like to go into executive session?
Not particularly. I understand what that says about executive session.
You want to talk to Mr. Dieters to find out if that's...
Can I ask for everybody else's opinion? Please.
With regards to
Whether or
executive
not we
session?
should go into executive session. I know I'm getting a no and a yes.
My opinion is yes.
My opinion is no.
I'm saying no. I think this is something we can discuss this here. Correct.
We can, but with respect to Mr. Wilson, should we discuss it here? That's kind of where I'm going.
Okay,
It's a respect thing.
right, I understand. So, Madam President, everybody always talks about, I can't wait till the next election. But then we get to a point where there is a vacancy and there are crickets. And frankly, I don't want him to run away. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
There to say she's even gone. I'm gonna be quiet. I'll see it. But I'm gonna say it, and you can bang that thing if you want to.
You're gonna make me.
She should have had on her form 3 people who can fill her seat.
It has nothing to do with Ms. Bruner.
I'm telling you, that's the way that it should have been. For
Ms.
this Hamilton County, that's
Ms.
why-
Bruner did not
She
run
was
for that
appointed.
seat. She was not an elected position. She filled someone before that, and that person did not fill out those those lines in the committee part in her petitions. I'm searching for the words. It was a petition. And that person did not fill out that.
Madam-
And that's where we are. I mean, that's on the Board of Elections. The Board of Elections does not enforce that. They allow that to happen. And so here we are. It has nothing to do with the city. It has everything to do with the Board of Elections. Mr. Davis.
Okay. So now, would Ms. Bruner still have the option to appoint somebody? Can't do that now.
Lovely confidential. Nothing's private. Lovely. You serve us.
Ms. Underwood, how would you like to proceed?
I'm on the hot seat, huh?
Well, you're standing
Okay.
right next to our adjournment, so yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, well, I move that we fill Ms. Bruner's seat with Victor Wilson.
And
Madam President,
I'd like, oh, sorry.
Ms. Dukestein.
I'll second that.
Hey, Madam President.
Hey, Madam President?
No. The hey wasn't supposed to be on microphone. It was Madam President. I apologize.
All right. Mr. Davis.
So the 3 people that you have submitted to replace you is mentioned. Mr. Wilson is one of my 3. How would I have to go about changing that? I'm saying
That's not a conversation.
okay, not for now. Okay, understood.
That's a conversation with the Board of Elections.
Okay.
Mr. Hedger, we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Underwood
How is this passed?
and a second from Ms. Dukestein to appoint Victor Wilson to replace Donna Bruner's position on City Council. Could you please call the roll?
Are you sure? Oh, okay. Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 5-0.
Mr. Wilson, could you please show up tomorrow to talk to Mr. Torrey and get Ms. Anderson to get all of your paperwork and everything rolling? Thank you.
Madam President.
Mr. Hedger.
Mr. Wilson, I'll need you to just visit me after the meeting. I need a couple things.
Ms. Underwood?
That's all I have for the moment.
Madam
Oh.
President.
Madam
Madam President.
Madam President, I move that we
Underwood.
adjourn.
Madam President.
Ms. Dukestein?
I'll second that.
Mr. Hedger, I have a motion on the floor from Ms. Underwood and a second from Ms. Dukestein to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:40 PM. Please call the roll.
Ms. Orr,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed, 5-0.
Thank you.